Port Moresby shops close over ongoing looting fears. Meanwhile, NCD Christmas celebrations cancelled. And calls for support as patient number rise in the Western Highlands.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
A very good evening to you and welcome to Monday's news. Major supermarkets in Port Moresby have been affected as a result of the ongoing standoff between the police and soldiers. Opportunists have also attempted to raid shops in Erima and Padilli, but quick response by police has prevented trouble.
This morning, police had to step up security at J-Mart supermarket at Erima because opportunists tried to loot the shop. Shortly after opening its doors, the management shut the doors again.
Morning, people are passing. Obim about 30 minutes na bot na. Or the crowd now, people are passing.
A similar situation at Badili, where main shops have closed the doors for business. It has left shoppers and shop owners frustrated.
People why all fight each other now? People by fall long na.
At around 11 a.m., main shops in Hola were targeted. Opportunists came in numbers but were again prevented by police. The business community in Port Moresby is still in fear of possible attack by members of the public. On Saturday, J-Mart Taroma Foodland was attacked and valuables worth millions of kina were looted. This follows from a standoff between police and soldiers last Saturday near Trophy House, which resulted in several gunshots being fired and several army officers admitted at the hospital. Quintan Alomp, National EMTV News.
And last night's Xmas celebrations in the nation's capital were called off following another standoff between members of the two disciplinary forces. NCD residents who arrived at the Jack Pettick Park in 5 Mile were asked to return home by security guards. For 3 hours, there was no police presence in the park.
Following speculations on social media about another riot between the two forces, all roads leading into the Boroko police station were sealed off by police officers. For almost 3 hours, motorists were stopped from driving into the Boroko area. A short closed-door meeting was held between superiors of both forces at 8 last night. The meeting lasted for at least 45 minutes. Details of the meetings were not revealed to the media, but MTV News understands that the superiors have reached a compromise last night. The recent confrontation has caused confusion for many NCD residents, especially those living in the 4 Mile, Taroma and Boroko areas. In a joint conference on Saturday, the PNG-DF Acting Chief of Staff, Colonel Ola Vagi, warned the general public to not take advantage of the confrontation and try to destroy public property.
Also warn the public not to take advantage of the situation and start looting and creating more problems.
The NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Andy Bawa has also issued warnings that anyone caught breaking the law will be dealt with. Taklagunga, National EMTV News.
Port Moresby Chamber of Commerce boss David Conn says this type of incident makes it hard to sell PNG. He said he would not be surprised if some countries decided not to attend next year's Pacific Games. He is also concerned that the public and business have lost and continue to lose important trading hours.
I mean, this is taking Papua New Guinea 1 step forward and 2 steps back. As I drove around that area this morning, right in the middle of it is a 21st century world-class Taurama aquatic centre. Yet this sort of rubbish has been going on around it for 2 days. What would happen next year if we are holding the Pacific Games swimming competition in this, and this sort of nonsense going on around outside? Number one, we can't get to the venue. Number two, nobody's going to want to get to the venue anyway. We're going to see that sort of facility trashed by this sort of behaviour because people just get out of control. And the catalyst so often in these incidents has been soldiers drunk and disorderly, out of control. And I think the business community and the community in general has every right to ask the hierarchy of the PNGDF, what is going on with your command and control of these young people are.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has expressed extreme disappointment on this police-soldier standoff. The Prime Minister said the nation expects much more from our disciplined personnel and not the mob mentality. He further described it as unacceptable, but gave the thumbs up for both agencies in setting up an investigative team to deal with the issue. Mr. O'Neill called on citizens to obey the law and respect property. He warned people not to use this disturbance as an opportunity to loot, as they will be dealt with through the full extent of the law. And we'll be back with more local stories after these short messages. Stay with us. Good to have you back with the news. Madang residents have raised concerns yet again over the increasing crime rate in Madang town. Over the last 3 years, law and order issues have risen and Madang town has become a haven for petty criminals. A protest planned for last Friday was put off due to security concerns. MTV's Edwin Fidelis reports from Madang.
Madang town, once known as the beautiful town, is now known for all the wrong reasons. Law and order has been spiraling out of control over the last 3 years. Bag snatching and pickpocket is common here, and this has forced the residents to speak out.
Madang was once a very beautiful town. Like Mr. Kaliboboy, it was once very beautiful. Smart and look nice too. And now, over there, se mukle gogoya. Petty crime, ayo maski, sisiak mi plem no.
Madang is a growing town with high number of resource development projects. The number of people flocking into Madang is increasing over the last 2 years, and the establishment of new settlements are thriving. And to a large extent, it needs policeman power to maintain law and order. There are also growing concerns over the inability of police to respond to instances of crime.
Side block work la police to poor. Ano sabi helping me play? Even Mildas Market sabi stop close too long. Police station. Oh God! Over the sending police and behind all police ago. We examine a good plan. Maybe a plan ki mamoy no sabi 1 bill is like an person.
While pressure is mounting on Madang's police force, the police force itself has limitations.
Madang's police force Chief Superintendent Sylvester Calout says limited manpower has been a hindrance to effective policing of Madang town. For a growing town like Madang, it would need a reliable police unit. Increasing the police strength in Madang province would mean building more police houses, and it's a stage that Madang province hasn't quite reached yet. Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Madang.
And in Mount Hagen, the city remains in a standstill after police retaliated following the killing of a colleague. Businesses in Mount Hagen remain closed today following the killing of a policeman over the weekend. During the weekend, police burnt tires and barricaded roads within the town area, stopping people from entering into shopping centres and banks. Investigations have begun into the murder of the West Sepik policeman. While the Pogera call-out by joint security personnel is underway, concerns have been raised over the disciplined forces' violent conduct when arresting suspects or intimidating travelling public. One of the victims, who has since fled Pogera Valley for safety, is Mek Lawai. They have called on the Prime Minister and the Police Minister to address and review the call-out operations and ensure discipline.
This is Ringbing Ming, Freeman Leme and Mek Lawai from Enga Province. They are victims of the alleged abuse by the Joint Security Forces in Pogera. They claim that the Joint Security Forces are targeting people in possession of large sums of cash and those in possession of valuable items and businessmen like these three men.
Karim ko lopayam police station, padem all boys lomi, all burgim slaan lomia, e mine savil jet. Mi ko kam long, Philippines no logim sla one and naman out. Lachuk it's all rausim, and lomina mi kam. So, plani boys lomi sim bakarap. This line is up yediko na milusim lo Pogera milusim 2003 na mi kam dan yellow Moresby.
Any documents to the state that they are doing such things, charging us 5,000 and 9,000, and they are also getting money from us. All these things are sort of abuses.
With the deployment of the 2nd Joint Security Forces under Operation Shortstop, crime rates have dropped since the first call-out was made on April 23. Barrick Gold, a developer of Porgera Gold Mine, is a major corporate partner in the call-out operation due to increased illegal miners and rise in criminal activities in the Porgera Valley. However, Mack and his relatives feel that they are being victimized by the joint forces because of their status. They are also alluvial miners not from Porgera mining lease area, but other parts of Enga, where alluvial activity is one way of making fast money. Mr. Lawai and his relatives want both the police and PNG Defence Force hierarchy to review the Porgera call-out operations.
Police, law discipline, Moresby police post. Now 2 million talking about defense to time of defense to go and up. Working same thing. So Minister of Police, Minister of Defense much talking about defense too. No one working with passing.
Bridget Komatap, National EMTV News.
The Papua New Guinea Defence Force says it is prepared to repatriate its ex-servicemen to their home villages. Commander of the Papua New Guinea Defence Force, Brigadier General Gilbert Toropo, says many of its ex-servicemen have lived in the barracks for too long. His comments come after several ex-servicemen were evicted from their homes in Goldie Barracks last week.
Many of the ex-servicemen living in army barracks in the country have served their time. However, they continue to reside in the barracks despite being asked to leave. Toropo says the department over the years has been working to repatriate them but was prevented by the courts.
Because they went through the court cases, we've been prevented from evicting them from the barracks. They understand. The ex-servicemen understand the PNG Defence Force responsibility to repatriate them away from the merit quarters to their homes. Unfortunately, over the years, we couldn't do that because court prevented us from doing that. But now the court has decided that they have no case further to pursue from us evicting them.
The recent evictions early this month at Goldie Barracks outside Port Moresby has once again brought the issue to light. The Papua New Guinea Defence Force says it understands the plight of the ex-servicemen and wants them to cooperate with the department to sort out their entitlements and related issues before being repatriated to their home villages. Accommodation for its servicemen is now becoming a worry as many houses at the barracks are occupied by ex-servicemen. By 2017, the number of soldiers will reach 5,000 personnel. Their accommodation needs will be more pronounced. The Defence Force expects to resolve the issue before then.
Evict them because we have many servicemen of our own who are effectively and actively providing service to the government and to the people of Papua New Guinea. And their families are away in the villages or either in settlements. And as committed servicemen, as the commander, we need to provide them accommodation so that their families are secure and safe.
Mickey Cavera, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has directed the state not to evict the ex-soldiers until a three-man bench makes a decision regarding the service entitlements. The decision will be made on February 16th next year. The ex-soldiers are from Goldie and Murray Barracks. They have been in court for almost 14 years. A week ago, those living in Goldie were evicted from their homes. Many of them have served for over 40 years. The workers of the St. John Ambulance Service stopped work today in protest to news that they will not be paid in the last 2 fortnights of the year. The disgruntled workers demanded to know why they would not be getting paid. CEO Andrew Kallai explained this was due to a shortage of funds.
This morning, the workers of the ambulance service reacted to an internal memo. It told them that the NGO had run out of money and will not be able to pay the staff for 2 fortnights in December 2014. This announcement did not go well with the workers.
So we are trying to stop the operation now, and we are telling the public that now we are not going to provide the service due to no funds.
They demanded explanations.
We are funded by the government every year. This is the quarterly money we're talking about. The government accounts are already closed, and the 1.5 million we are asking is, we want them to come out and explain to us what happened to that money.
Eventually, St. John's CEO Andrew Kalai and Chief Officer and Commissioner for Ambulance Courtney Muller addressed the staff. Mr. Kalai told the staff that soon after starting as CEO in July, he saw that the NGO would be running short of funds sooner or later. Since September, he has been speaking and sending out letters to appropriate authorities in government to pay the ambulance service what was due to them. However, there have been no positive responses, giving rise to the financial problem. CEO Kalai asked the staff for their patience at this time. He announced also that the council would be meeting this evening to address the issue. The workers, meanwhile, are adamant they will continue their stop work until and unless the pay issues are resolved. Delhi Bagu, National EMTV News.
Bulolo in the Moresby province is a district that is struggling. Over the past 20 months, the district has been pushing for the release of its development funds. But that hasn't stopped the people from seeing basic services delivered into their areas. The district is seeing changes to its infrastructures, some of which were built on credit.
The Lataplaklu Bridge was opened last Saturday by Bulolo MP Sam Basil. This was one of two bridges that were built on credit after the Bulolo DSIP funds were not released. The bridge will help more than 6,000 people in Leklu and all the way to Watut and Minyamia.
Money block government, you must put him straight work blame. And me block him meter, so you may not suffer. You may give him yet service.
The Bulolo district this year has commissioned 7 new bridges. A Chinese contractor has agreed to build these bridges on credit basis. The Leklu Bridge is the first phase of the development of the proposed Leh to Port Moresby highway. Bulolo district is expecting more developments before this year ends.
All people ask him, why Bulolo district is building 7 bridges now? All other district is building 1 bridge or no bridge at all. Because we working project, now we give him service Roman, now people. Suppose you member you got, member you give him, whether you stop opposition or you stop government.
Works have also started at the Wow town with road resurfacing and a new hangar at the Wow airstrip. Colin Barilai, National EMTV News, Leh.
And now we check out the finance news. The Kina closed unchanged at $0.39 in the interbank market, and at Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.3825, $0.4569 Australian dollars, €0.3079 euro, and 46.11 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee closed lower, and cocoa and copper closed higher. Palm oil, crude oil, and copper all closed lower. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 58 points higher, the ASX closed at 16 points lower, and similarly, the All Ordinaries closed at 16 points lower. Concerns over disability assistance in Manus and rising patient numbers in the Western Highlands. I'll bring you those stories coming up after the break. Stay tuned. Thanks for your company and welcome back to the news. Health workers at a rural health post in the Western Highlands Province have raised concerns about the limited number of workers treating an increasing number of patients. This concern from health workers in Nengil Health Post isn't new in PNG, but comes as the Western Highlands Health Authority delegates health services to the district, putting a strain on health post workers. But there are plans for a nursing school to be established in the Mulbaya district to help solve the problem.
The Provincial Health Authority has delegated services that can be carried out in the community health posts. While infrastructures at the health post have been improved for this, the strain has been put on health post workers.
One kind of small health centers here. Me plan make him learn as well. Me plan no plan the staff. Me plan need implant more staff. Lo must come now work one time me plan because me plan provide implant services.
Julie Kaurema works at the Nangil Community Health Post in the Baya area. She explains that delegating health services to the health post is ideal, but 3 staff members aren't enough to cater to all patients, especially in places with higher population numbers.
So when something difficult or emergency, these are the cases where me plan refer him to us. Me plan can manage him low level, blow me plan. And me plan looking more no need low go big blouse.
Since the Western Highlands Health Authority was established in 2011, Health posts like this one in Nangil village have been built and improved by the government. When the authority delegated work, it had to make sure the districts could handle the strain.
So we are at the present time redeveloping Cotner Hospital, the district hospital. We'll be upgrading District Hospital at Tinsley.
We have actually trained one of our staffs there, upskilling to a level where it's 6 months of training, midwifery, upskilling.
For manpower struggle, it's mandatory to have 3 health workers at every health post. According to the health department, it's enough to cater for the number of patients coming in for treatment.
Then the other nurse will be based here to look after any patients that are sick. They want medical attention, they will come to the community health post.
But in general, since the inception of the health authority, the health forecast for the province looks promising. Last week, a healthy village concept was launched at the Sana village in Baya to promote healthy villages.
Yeah, it is really good. Before the missionaries set up the nursing school, but it was run down, so we have to bring it back again. So that is good for all the health programs going on. You see.
Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News.
Many people living with disability in Manus continue to face difficulty accessing basic services. They say services are not reaching them as many of them live in town but on the islands. Their concern was expressed during the recent International Day for Disabled Persons.
Although the exact number of people living with disability in Manus is not confirmed, it is understood that many of them reside on the outlying islands. With access into Lorengau town only by sea, they have called on their provincial government to make accessibility easy for them. As a result, many of them have missed out on essential basic services. Their concern has not gone unheard. Minister for Community Development Delilah Gore has tasked her ministry to assist. She wants a more inclusive society for all and not for people living with disability to be continuously deprived. The national disability policy needs to be implemented and not left to collect dust, she said. Kalan Services of Manus has received support from the ministry to extend its work. Mickey Cavera, National EMTV News.
A staff shortage at the Lorengau General Hospital in Manus is causing inconvenience to pediatric care. There is currently a community health worker assisting the ward manager. Sister in charge, Veronica Boer, wants this problem addressed immediately.
Veronica Boer says a staff shortage has been an ongoing problem at the children's ward. Currently, she is working by herself, assisted only by a community health worker.
I'm working by myself from 8 to 4 in the afternoon, and then afternoon shift, the nurses from the surgical ward, they came to help at night duty.
There are 20 beds at the ward and patient numbers have steadily increased. About 10 patients are treated at the ward daily. The ward also does not have proper ablution blocks for patients and no specialist equipment. Malnutrition is the biggest killer at the children's ward. 3 babies die per year.
At the moment, Dr. Loon is trying his best to get equipment over, but still pending because of funding.
Veronica Boer says they are working to ensure smooth flow of services to the patients to minimize this problem. Minister for Community Development in a recent visit paid a courtesy call to the children's ward to deliver presents for the mothers and babies. She says similar situation is faced by hospitals throughout the country and the government is working to address this at the national level. Mickey Cavera, National EMTV News.
On a related note, Papua New Guinea needs more health workers to improve and deliver basic health services to the growing population of more than 7 million people. But the progress has been slow. In Enga on Friday, National Planning Minister Charles Abel said a step to address this is through the funding of nursing colleges and health institutions around the country.
The Planning Minister was given a brief of the nursing college by senior lecturer Caroline Baine, who pointed out the need for more training of qualified nurses and health workers. She says as part of government's drive to create a healthy society, better training facilities can improve and reduce the high mortality rate and other related health concerns.
If you look at the maternal mortality rate, it's almost about 5%. And we need institutions like health and education to be in the country and especially in the provinces. And mother and children's health are very important.
Meanwhile, senior surgeon at the Sopas Hospital, Dr. Lino Tom, says the hospital is expanding with major projects going on with the support of development partners, volunteers and the national government.
Our state is actually funding us with another 4.3 mil. We'll get another counter funding from governor of about 2.2 mil to actually build the other infrastructures we hope to have to cater for students who are actually coming next year.
Planning Minister Charles Abel reaffirmed the O'Neill Dion government's priority in the health sector. He says funding of 5 million kina to nursing colleges must be utilized properly through institutions as allocated in the 2015 budget.
So Enga is well on the way there. Government is now providing funding. So we'll be refurbishing all the 8 nursing colleges throughout the country. Number 1 and 2 emphasis is education and health. And the governor and the administration here is doing a wonderful effort there in terms of training more teachers, training more nurses, and ultimately building the big Enga provincial hospital.
A total of 1.8 billion kina was allocated to the health sector in the 2015 national budget. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Enga Teachers College held its 3rd graduation last week Friday. 195 students graduated with diplomas in teaching. EMTV's Jack Lapave Jr. reports.
It was a distinct moment for the 195 graduating teachers who invested their time and effort to drive and improve the level of education in Enga. Guest of honor and Minister for National Planning and Monitoring Charles Abel arrived in time to grace the occasion as parents, relatives and graduates hailed the day. Enga Teachers College Principal Michael Omingu told the graduates a disciplined teacher always imparts quality education to students.
Teachers play a very, very critical role in the academic and the social upbringing of the Wanakupa.
In 2015, more money will be given to teachers' colleges, a sum of 5 million kina. This would see the expansion of institutions and replacement of the outcome-based education programs.
So step by step through the education process, we come up with international quality graduates at the end of the day. Otherwise, how are we going to compete with the rest of the world if our standard of education is slightly lower? And honestly, we have a bit of a way to go. Teacher Service Commission, Education Department, we have a long way to go. You know, we put the child at the center of development, and what does that child need to be equipped with to make it in the world? And of course, education is very, very important. It's the number 1 enabling factor that must be there.
A total of 37 students graduated in the elementary program and 158 for the primary program.
You must now step on the national government. Now, partner in Musa Rusa, look, come of more institutions in here, more institutions. But you mean a waiver on this policy. But you stop long enough because God inside the rule of man.
Meanwhile, Governor Ipata stated that Enga's 2015 budget will see a big cut to the education sector to support elementary, primary up to higher learning institutions. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
The University of Goroka has taken student accommodation to another level with the opening of its student apartments on Saturday. 170 million kina has been invested into the construction of the apartments, with the government of China and the Exim Bank of China providing a 108 million kina concessional loan in support. The Onagi apartments were opened by Deputy Prime Minister Leo Dion.
This is what the new student apartments at the university looks like. It brings the level of student accommodation at the university to another dimension. The self-contained apartments will house over 1,000 female students next year. The apartments built by a Chinese construction company at a total cost of 170 million kina. Vice-Chancellor Dr. Gairo Onagi said the university has a long way to go. The university needs to build new staff houses to cater for the increasing number of students.
And then we have
students because the government wants more human capital to the nation, and we are doing that. The quantity aspect that the government is telling us, but the quality aspect, we will still, Deputy Prime Minister, I will still come to your government and ask you for some more money.
Eastern Highlands Governor Julie Soso has since pledged 1 million kina to help build new staff houses. The governor wants the university to be an active partner with the Eastern Highlands provincial government.
For Eastern Highlands to start working with you, university, I commit 1 million kina from PSIP for next year. And that 1 million kina will go towards staff housing.
Since the introduction of the free primary education for all children, student enrollments have seen a rise from 1.2 million to 2 million over the last 2 years. Deputy Prime Minister Leo Dion said the government is planning now for more children to go to universities, and the new student apartment is part of this plan.
Your government is planning for this future now. We are not copying the neglect of the past. We are planning for the future of our nation in the decades to come.
The buildings commissioned by the Deputy Prime Minister will see a first batch of female students moving into the apartments next year. Stanley Oved Jr., National EMTV News.
Vanimo Green Sundown Province celebrated its second Sundown Selkambang Festival earlier this month. The festival brought many local dancers to the township for the first time. MTV's Godwin Eke reports.
The festival brought together 19 cultural groups to showcase their unique songs, dance and traditional costumes. The festival aims to unite the people of Vanimo Green and open the town up to people in surrounding districts. Some performers have never before seen the seas, buildings or vehicles. Vanimo Green MP Belden Nama is hoping to make the Selkambang and the festival a tourist attraction and point of investment in Sundown Province, as it holds a rich history that has been left untold. He said this festival has the potential to get bigger and better and attract international tourists to the province each year, which will put Vanimo on the festival map internationally. Tourist attractions include surfing, birdwatching, trekking, waterfalls and unique flora and fauna. The name of the festival is taken from the god, which is traditionally worn by the men in this region of Papua New Guinea. The women wear grass skirts in Sundown, sharing the same culture as those in West Papua. The Office of Vanimo Green has listed the festival with the Papua New Guinea Tourism Promotion Authority and the National Cultural Commission to make it an annual event on the National Cultural Commission calendar. Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
Beautiful colours to wrap up our news segment tonight, but do stay with us. I'll be back with all your sporting updates in Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. And to swimming, Ryan Penny has successfully come out of retirement, making a memorable comeback at the 12th FINA World Swimming Championships in Doha, Qatar. Penny has achieved a number of personal bests in the pool and is set to lead the PNG swim team at the 2015 Pacific Games next year. Penny, however, wasn't the only one making headlines for PNG overseas. Swimming young gun Sheldon Plummer finished first in the 400-meter men's freestyle with a timing of 4 minutes and 38 seconds, while Nathan Nades broke the PNG record in the men's 4x50 individual medley. The PNG swim team arrives tomorrow and will continue their preparations for the 2015 Pacific Games. Rugby can be used as a development tool to build the nation and change the mindsets and attitudes of the people of Papua New Guinea. In a candid and exclusive interview with MTV's Jeremy Moggy, Australian Wallaby Will Genia spoke of how rugby union can be used for a process of change in a country that is passionate about sport.
As far as rugby, using sport as a vehicle, I think I quite enjoy it for promoting good messages like education, like living the right lifestyle, eating or being healthy, those sorts of things. And at the same time, it keeps kids off the street. It keeps it keeps, I guess, kids doing the right thing as opposed to going out there and stealing and looting and doing things like that.
And our girls, PNG Peppers, went down to host and the Asian champion Singapore 47 points to 42 in the opening game of the Netball Nations Cup played yesterday. It was not until third quarter when the world-ranked 17th PNG Peppers turned around a 6-goal halftime deficit to give the host nation a scare. Peppers were fired up in the final quarter with the possession of the ball. Head coach Unaisi Rakura pointed out that mistakes were made, but it was a well-structured game. Peppers played Samoa today and will play Malaysia tomorrow and Ireland on Wednesday. Host nation Singapore, Samoa and Botswana are leading the league table. The Central Premier Rugby League is set to commence its grand final match this Wednesday at the new Wagula Park in Arama Coast, Central Province. Arama Coast and Golala Kurakus have booked the final playoff and will be running on the field for the Kilahauda Cup.
The PNG-RFL piloted program, the Central Premier Rugby League, has successfully come to the brim with finals expected this Wednesday at the newly done Wagula Park in Arama Coast. 8 teams from 5 central districts fiercely competed to make the finals of the inaugural league, which aims to revive the code in the province. 2 finalists are Goilala Karukas and Arama Coast.
Minimum it teams like game grand final so me plus play teams like game we gonna now me play with team straight.
What am expectation do you know Wednesday?
Me play low one me play like kisim slack up straight.
Thank you Lord. Play Central League Premier League and I say thank you to Kilauda.
The tournament started on September and has gained keen followers right throughout the season. Governor Kilahauda is committed and promised to make sure the tournament creates new heights in Central Rugby League.
Central people are also rugby players. I want to tell the League of Papua New Guinea that Central Province is coming and be ready for us.
The winner will walk away with 20,000 kina cash plus the Kilahauda Cup. And all the prizes are totaling up to 60,000.
A newly created Wagula Park is set to come alive this Wednesday with third-fourth playoff between Hiri West and Koyari Nagavas. From the tournament, players will be selected for Central Chief, a new contender for the 2015 Digicel Cup season. Tere Alex, National EMTV Sports.
And we'll have overseas sports coming up next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Overseas now, when Australia's cricketers walk out on the Adelaide Oval tomorrow for the first test against India, they will be accompanied by an extra player. Phil Hughes has been named the 13th man for the match that will put the team's courage to the test like no other in the history of the game.
Alone in the middle of the Adelaide Oval, Michael Clarke was playing the game in his mind, preparing for a test match he feared he would miss, and now one that he'll remember for the rest of his life.
It's a huge boost to have him back in and playing for us. I think with his captaincy, and he showed how strong he's been over the last couple of weeks.
And when the captain leads his team out tomorrow, they will have Philip Hughes close to their heart and minds. His test number, 408, has been emblazoned on their shirts. He's also been officially named as the 13th player.
What about that?
And today, coach Darren Lehman showed off Hughes' special place in the dressing room.
Phil Hughes, yep.
Yeah.
Great man.
He was a great man, wasn't he?
Yep, and we'll never ever forget him.
They say the game will not change and whoever bowls first tomorrow will send down a bouncer. Shane Watson yesterday admitted there will be apprehension and it seems the bowlers may struggle as well.
It's going to be an emotional morning and probably looking at it from our first little part of the game, I guess, for me going out there and bowling the first spell might be the most difficult and then might just get into the game a bit more.
And that other bowler caught up in this tragedy, Sean Abbott, is doing the same. It was feared the ball that fatally struck Philip Hughes may have been his last. But the 22-year-old was back in the nets today and will play for New South Wales against Queensland tomorrow.
He's very positive about playing. In fact, I think a few of the other guys are more of a concern than Sean. So, he's handled himself very well.
Meanwhile, back in Adelaide, Michael Clarke was settling back into his role as captain. But behind those smiles, a gritty determination to dig in for a mate.
And that's all the sports news we have for you tonight, but I'll be back with the weather details coming up after this break. Stay tuned.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
Quick look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in southern region. Evening showers and inland thunder expected in Port Moresby. In Moresby, Ley City to look forward to showers and possible thunderstorms. In the New Guinea Islands, brief showers for Kimbe, Kavang, Rabaul and Buka. And in the Highlands region, all centres to look forward to brief evening showers, then morning fog. Now before we go, quickly recapping our main stories tonight. The Prime Minister expresses disappointment over the standoff between police and soldiers. Also, Port Moresby shops close over fears of looting and calls for support as patient number rise in the Western Highlands. And that's how we begin another working week. On behalf of the news team, I'm Tokana Hasavi. Thanks for your company. You take care and stay safe. Good night.